Okay, so I'm calling this section 6.4.1 because as soon as you do 6.4, the quadratic formula, you need to know what you just did in chapter 4. Because in chapter 6.5, you have to solve problems. And a big problem of 6.5 in solving problems, it's hard to understand like what the question's asking. So you have to make sure that that's your only problem in 6.5. If any of 6.1 to 6.4 is your problem in 6.5, it's going to be overwhelming. So I'm just going to make a quick video, hopefully under 5 minutes, explaining everything about quadratics. So we know from chapter 4, 5, and 6, we did as much as possible to learn everything about quadratics, and I'm going to try to explain it with these 3 equations. We have standard form, we have intercept form, we have vertex form. These are the only forms that exist. Now, our job in 3 chapters is to learn what a parabola is and to acquire the skill to jump from form to form. You're going to get questions that are word problems that are given in standard form. This gives you no information. You got to either find the x-intercepts when the ball hits the ground. You got to find the vertex, what's the maximum height of the ball, stuff like that. Now, going from equation to equation are all the skills we learned. For instance, from standard form to vertex form, this is completing the square. And we did this in 6.1. So you have to know that anytime you have standard form, if you want the vertex, completing the square is an option. It is not the only option. You have to know, we'll do these trash ones at the beginning, these blue ones. From any of these forms, if you ever need to go back to standard form, which makes no sense, you never really want standard form. So to get from here to standard form or from here to standard form, this is just expand and simplify. That's it. Now, the hard things that we did is in chapter 5, we learned how to factor. We learned how to go from standard form to intercept form. And this is by factoring. Okay, but you can't factor every single parabola. Like, there could be 2 multiples that aren't really integers or rational answers that give you the intercepts. And the intercept could be like a non-terminating decimal. So in 6.4, what it does, actually let me say this first. We know we complete the square to go here, and from here to get intercepts, we can solve. I can set y equal to 0, bring the k over, divide by a, square root, plus h, and I can solve for x, the intercepts. Okay, we saw that like once or twice, but I'll explain it further in class. So here I can solve to go back this way. So technically, from this form to this form, we know how to get there without the quadratic formula. We could just go here to complete the square. We know how to do that. And we go back up here by solving. But this process takes a very long time. Completing the square, kind of long. Solving, it's not that big of a deal. But, you know, when we have the same process every time, we want to go straight to here using the quadratic formula. So that's what the quadratic formula does. It actually completes the square and solves at the same time. So it's just a shortcut. It's a long formula that is just a shortcut to get to intercept form. Now, if I have intercept form and I want the vertex to expand to then complete the square, it doesn't make any sense. I could just use the midpoint, right? The midpoint of the x-intercept is the x value of the vertex. Then I can plug that back in and find the y value. So midpoint is a big deal. Midpoint is even a big deal because I can go from here, and I'm drawing it straight through because the extreme shortcut. I can just find the x value of the vertex by plugging in negative b over 2a. And this right here is an extreme hack that you must use every single time. If you ever have standard form and you're not using negative b over 2a to find the vertex, you're doing more work than you need to. To complete the square, I would never do that again in my life because I have this. So what this does, it finds this h value in here. And if I have that h value, I could just plug it into x over here and find the k value because that's the y value. So in 2 calculator steps, I can complete the square fakely, right? Unfortunately, in grade 10, you need to show that you know how to complete the square. So you still need this skill because I'll ask you questions, complete the square to solve. But if I don't say complete the square, get out of here. X equals this, done. Okay, so x equals negative b over 2a is amazing. You just take the negative b value, or the opposite of the b value, divided by 2 of those, and that is the x value of your vertex. It is the axis of symmetry, whatever you want to call it. So again, in chapter 6, navigating from these three forms is everything you need to know in chapter 6. And you have to have all of these skills down. You have to, because in 6.5, it's going to give you random scenarios, and your brain power is going to be so focused in understanding what the question's asking for that this needs to be second nature. It needs to be like, okay, no problem. I'm not looking and I'm dribbling. You know, you can't be looking at the ball while you're dribbling. So grind these out, practice as much as possible. We should know how to do this really easily. We should now know how to do this. We know how to do this. I hope we know how to factor, and we can use a quadratic formula. Just something to say over here. Guys who don't know how to factor, you can always use the quadratic formula. You can't always factor. So this always works. Would I always use it? Absolutely not. I showed you how to factor, and I showed you how important it is because it is so fast. And if you practice it, we can now move a little quicker through questions. And yes, we do need to develop speed as well. But that's your backup, plan B at all times. 641, just made it up.